What's up, people? I'm Erica.
And I'm Hillary.
And this is Cocktails and Capitalism. This week, we're drinking the Coal Miner's Daughter, which includes 1.5 ounces of bourbon, 1 teaspoon of ginger syrup, 3/4 ounce of lemon juice, 3/4 ounce of honey, a lavender sprig, and some ice. And that's basically it. Hillary looked up how to make the ginger syrup. Do you want to tell people how to do that?
Yeah, I had everything but the ginger syrup. So I wonder if I can make it because I had ginger. My husband had just recently gotten a whole bag of ginger because I'm on a smoothie kick and all that jazz. So I had ginger.
I love ginger in smoothies.
Oh, it's so good, right?
Yeah.
So I quickly looked it up. It's just a cup of chopped up ginger, fresh ginger, and then a cup of sugar and 3/4 cup of water, and you bring it all to a boil, let it simmer for 15 minutes, and then let it cool for an hour with the ginger still in it. And then after it's all nice and cool and ready to handle, you strain the ginger and you've got your ginger syrup, and it is so bomb. It's delicious.
So good.
I'm really excited about it.
I feel like I want to have ginger syrup on hand all the time for whatever cocktail I want to make.
Same. It makes me want to try to make other syrups too. You know?
Yeah,
really
definitely.
into it.
We could make some mint syrup. I'm sure we'll get creative with this.
Absolutely. And we're going to share all these good syrup and cocktail recipes with everybody,
Hell yeah.
Get everybody in on it.
And I was thinking we should try to start, if we know ahead of time which episode we're doing for the next week, give them the recipe ahead of time so that they can...
That's what the Instagram's for.
Yeah. There you go. There we go. We'll just blast it there.
100%.
And what's our Instagram handle?
It's Cocktails and Capitalism.
Sweet.
Yeah, very easy to find. We're the only cocktail and capitalism related Instagram.
Yeah.
So if you put that in the search in Insta, you're going to find us. Mm-hmm. Go find us.
Yeah, you can find us on Twitter too now. The handle is actually Cocked Capitalism because I couldn't spell out both words.
Which is kind of appropriate, right?
Yeah.
Cocked capitalism.
It's cocked.
Yeah, it's kind of cocked.
It's ready to blow. So I chose the Coal Miner's Daughter for this episode because it deeply relates to the theme, and it's actually what people were drinking back in the day when the story is about.
Ooh.
In this episode, I'm going to explore the birth of American policing, focusing on the corporate police forces that emerged in Pennsylvania.
Oh, damn.
My mind was kind of blown when I found out that there were corporate police forces and that they were some of the earliest police forces around. So I was like,
that's wild. Corporate police forces.
Owned by companies.
Right.
Before the 1800s, there were virtually no recognizable police forces anywhere in the world. Ancient societies mostly used interpersonal mediation to resolve disputes, but this kind of conflict resolution didn't work as well in large cities around the world. During America's colonial period, which was like the 1500s until independence in 1776, Americans followed the British model for establishing order, erecting a system of common law with sheriffs, constables, and watchmen. These officers did not receive a salary but were instead paid by private citizens. So that's kind of susceptible to corruption too, if you can just hire.
100%.
Yeah.
Who, may I interrupt? May I ask a question?
Yeah, for sure.
I
might not know. Yeah.
That's totally fine.
We're not claiming to be experts here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We may, Google it later and figure it out and share it with you guys later.
Exactly.
But who were these people? Who were these?
I didn't look into the private citizens that were hiring police back in those days, but it had to be the wealthiest people that could afford to hire
who could
people.
afford it. Yeah.
So
yeah,
automatically it selects for the upper class.
Mm-hmm. Is there any regulation on that today?
On people having police forces like that?
Yeah.
Well, there's totally private military contractors, which we'll probably talk about in other episodes, but it's a sick and twisted thing that's going on, Blackwater and the like.
Wow.
When you have a monetary incentive to go to war, what do you think is going to happen?
Right. Absolutely.
So these officers, they were paid by private citizens. Constables were on duty during the day, executing writs like summonses and arrest warrants. To help maintain order and warn off danger, the night watch system began to emerge in the 1600s. It was composed of individuals who volunteered for certain time slots. Boston was the first city to create one in 1638. This system wasn't very effective, especially since many of the watchmen slept or drank while on duty.
I mean, what cocktails were they enjoying?
I know.
I
didn't look into
not
that.
Cool,
Yeah.
But wow.
Yeah, totally. I wonder what.
Yeah, it's totally okay for you to have this super important job and go ahead and drink on the job, whatever.
Just get as wasted as you want, and yeah.
Lordy, that is crazy. Okay, keep going.
Yeah,
what
totally.
The what?
There's a lot of that, dude.
Should that be the phrase for this episode? What the what?
What the what?
what double? What? Sorry.
So, no, I love it. So, like most early forms of policing, the Night Watch was created to control poor minorities in America and would arrest any black person who couldn't prove that they were free.
Oh.
So, and then Indian...
And cue the heart sink.
Yeah. So, in a similarly uplifting note, Indian constables in New England were created for a similar purpose to control and guard against the Native Americans.
Mm-hmm.
So, before the Civil War, law enforcement in the southern states had a very specific purpose: to control the massive population of enslaved black people. It's estimated that between 1525 and 1866, 12 million people were kidnapped from their homes in Africa and shipped to the New World, which...
Pause.
Yeah.
Say that number again.
12 million people.
12 million people.
Kidnapped.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's just kind of unfathomable to me. Like, that's just...
And
okay, keep going.
More
keep
than
going.
2 million of those people didn't survive the trip overseas, which was horrible and atrocious and just the worst.
Right.
Those 12 million weren't only going to the U.S., they were going to North America, South America, and the Caribbean. And only about 500,000 of those people were brought to North America, which is still a fuckload of people.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot.
So about 500,000 of these people were brought to North America. Slaveholders were eager to find ways to prevent their slaves from escaping, and they lived in constant fear of insurrection. America's first slave patrol was created in Carolina in 1704, and like the slave patrols that followed, this force was created to guard the, quote, property of slaveholders, standing ready to crush slave uprisings. In other words, Southern policing was about maintaining the economic order that was structured around slavery, allowing slaveholders to keep and continue to profit from their human capital. Here is the official oath of the patrollers in North Carolina.
So this is an oath they would take before...
Yeah, as they become these officers.
As they were, starting their on the drinking job.
Yeah, basically, because these people had no, qualifications or training or anything like that.
Do you know did you by any chance run across information on, the average age of these individuals?
I think a lot of the time they were pretty young. I don't know.
I can imagine.
I don't know what the lifespan was back then, but it probably wasn't that.
Oh, that's another thing to consider.
Yeah.
So they were probably just babies.
Yeah. So this is the oath that they would say as they became part of the slave patrol. I, patroller's name, do swear that I will search for guns, swords, and other weapons among the slaves in my district faithfully, and as privately as I can, discharge the trust reposed in me as the law directs to the best of my power, so help me God. Participation in these patrols was mandatory for almost all white men, both rich and poor. So if you had to be part of the slave patrol, but some people could pay to get other people to do the role for them, so you could kind of opt out. So then it kind of became lower class, I think. Thus, it tended to create a sense of unity and equality among poor whites. So, let's all go and repress these people together.
Yeah. It almost became like a band for them, right? They almost like a unity for them.
Exactly. Definitely a unifying thing. If all of you have to do it, isn't that so crazy? That blew my mind when I learned that.
I know that's really kind of crazy. How do you know how they would regulate that?
No, but I did hear something about how women, land-owning women, were expected to join, but they could also just choose a dude to do that for them.
So women who don't own land were kind of
off.
Free doing it? Is that
totally.
what you're saying?
That would have been my jam back then. No, it would not have been. It would be awful. But...
No, you would have hated every minute.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God. I could not tolerate it.
That is so weird. Okay, keep going. I'm like, it's just, yeah, my mind's a little blown. Just keep going.
Super fucked.
Yeah, it's super fucked. Keep going.
All right, babe. So the members of these patrols wielded their own weapons. They would spread terror, physically brutalizing black people into submission as they roved about, which is kind of like the roving patrol officer these days. Mm-hmm. What's more, they were allowed to forcibly enter any house they chose without notice or permission.
So there is zero regulation.
Yeah, zero regulation.
Like they had their oath, but they had no rules on how to do their job.
And no qualifications, no like skills, you know. And like, yeah, they're not trained in how to do it. They basically got to use their own discretion about the laws that they were aware of and how to apply them, you know. By hunting down and punishing slaves, patrols worked to preserve the economic order of the times. Every single slave-holding state had established these patrols by the time John Adams became the second U.S. president, which was in 1797. When the Confederacy surrendered in 1865, this ended the reign of these patrols. Nevertheless, while the 13th Amendment abolished slavery, it included a clause stating that slavery could continue to be used as a punishment for a crime. This means that slavery...
Oh, my... I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I totally didn't know that. Holy cow.
It's so messed. This means that slavery was simply relegated to a new domain, and the desire for profit from free labor would continue to incentivize the imprisonment of black people in America.
Which I'm sure that people were still all about.
Oh, yeah. They were literally just snatching people off the streets to feed them into it. So black codes were passed consisting of laws that criminalized those who had been emancipated. Soon, sheriffs in the South took on the role of the earlier slave patrols, disenfranchising slaves and forcing segregation. Lacking formal police forces like the ones that had appeared in the North, Southern leaders empowered vigilante groups like the KKK to help surveil and police the black population. The Klan came to dominate the South to such an extent that the federal government actually occupied post-Confederate states to halt their brutal oppression of black citizens. They fucking took over that much at one point. When I learned that, I was like, what the fuck? Like,
they had a lot of power then.
They had
an unchecked power.
And they had been given power by some of the people in power who were like, yes, go out and patrol. Like, you're going to do...
Was there anyone standing up against them at that time or no?
Other people would have been up in arms about that. I don't know the details. I do want to just keep reading and reading and reading about this, though.
Why don't you get your second PhD?
I know. No, never again.
Never again.
Police forces had a very different start in the northern states. The North was rocked by strikes and riots during the early 1800s. For a while, these riots took place 3 or 4 times a year, but this increased to once a month in the 20s. Skilled tradesmen organized 3 huge strikes and built a movement to limit the workday to 10 hours.
Limit the workday to
10 hours, yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's like children, too.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. Everyone. Thankfully, we have labor laws now, but holy God. Fuck. All right, sorry, keep going.
No. You feel free. You bitch.
You bitch.
In 1826, whites rioted for 3 days straight, destroying the houses and churches of black people and of white ministers who condemned slavery. So, like, white people just having riots to like attack black people.
To keep slavery.
Yeah.
Like,
and this
really like what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're just gonna like make sure that we can keep doing this. We're gonna do everything in our power. Like, I know. Golly.
And also in the first 3 decades, black New Yorkers rioted 4 times to prevent freed slaves from being returned to their masters. So one of the first cities to establish a police force was Boston. It was a bustling commercial center even then, and capitalists wanted greater protection for their property. An article in Time magazine talks about how, quote, these merchants came up with a way to save money by transferring the cost of maintaining a police force to citizens by arguing that it was for the collective good.
Wait, can we get in? Wait, is there more about the public good? Like, what on earth did they mean by that? Like,
well, we need protection, so we need to do this, and all of you tax citizens, you have to pay for that, not
those, like,
us.
legit with their arguments. That is such a crap of shit.
Yeah.
Like,
It's so bad.
a crock of shit.
Oh my God. A crap of shit.
A crap of shit.
I like that better.
I kind of do too, actually. It's a little bit more accurate, right? Like a crock of shit. Like,
Yeah, who shits in a crock?
nobody ever.
I mean, I
Like,
haven't
no
yet,
one.
so.
I haven't either. I've shit in a lot of places. One of them is not a crock.
All right, moving on. In 1838, Boston established the first publicly funded police force that employed full-time officers, and soon municipal police departments began to appear all over the North. These departments were an answer to the unrest stemming from economic and racial inequality, as rich property owners and politicians feared the poor masses of white immigrants and black ex-slaves.
So this is still kind of part of the private citizens hiring police kind of deal. Is that part of that, or
So
was there that kind
this
of practice
was-
in Boston at that time?
this is now trying to put it into the public domain, make the government pay for it by taxing people.
Okay. All right. No, yeah, that makes more sense. Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna kind of go back and forth between these different forms of policing a little bit.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no. Sorry that I'm like the greatest at keeping up.
No. It's I'm horrible.
It is truly kind of confusing though. Like I didn't
Mm-hmm.
quite realize that this is how our police force was kind of evolving and over these centuries, right? Like we're talking about a long period of time here, and we're talking about a lot of changes in a lot of different places with a lot of different beliefs.
Yeah.
So it's crazy.
Totally.
There's a lot going on here.
By the 1800s, rudimentary policing bodies existed in all major U.S. cities.
Okay.
These forces were incredibly susceptible to corruption, as sergeants and police captains were selected by political party leaders. Police would overlook the illegal activities of politicians in return for payoffs. They were often tasked with harassing opponents of the party.
Wait, can we have that back?
I mean,
Is it wrong for me to ask that?
yes,
No,
it's very
yeah,
wrong.
no, yeah. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I mean, let's like fucking keep these politicians in line somehow. But
Well,
anyways,
no.
it's
This
probably
is
totally
that's
wrong.
the opposite of what they were doing. They were being elected by the political party leaders, the people in power, so that then they would just not pay attention to whatever they would get paid.
Okay.
So
all right.
they
I had that 100%.
100% 180 degrees flipped.
JK.
That's
All
fine.
right.
It's I felt like that when I was scoring through the history. So much
Dude,
of
I
it.
can imagine that this research was like crazy for you, like really diving into this topic and like getting into all the details and like digging more deeper and deeper and deeper. Like, were there at points in like looking up this cool topic, like where you were just like, holy shit!
Oh
like,
my
where
God.
am I in all of this mess?
So much.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I cried during the research of this, and I cried during the research of my second episode too.
Babe girl.
But, like,
I wish you would call me.
Aw,
I would've
no,
brought you
I'm not
some
going to tell you what
tissue.
the fuck these are about. So
You
no.
don't have to tell me what you're crying about,
Oh,
love.
thank you. I might just to be like, boo, I'm a baby. I can't handle the truth. Truth is not what we get in school, so it sucks when you start to get it, you know?
I mean, when you study the sciences, though, you get a lot of truth.
Yeah, that's
But,
true. That's
But
true.
other than that, nah.
I mean, like when you're in high school and getting history, especially.
Totes.
These police were tasked with harassing opponents of the parties in power. And in the North, the police began targeting anyone who was a threat to order, arresting people for vague crimes like disorderly conduct and vagrancy. And in the South, police would arrest black people only to feed them into the convict labor system, essentially preserving the institution of slavery in another form of unpaid labor and imprisonment,
Yeah.
which goes on to this very day.
To today.
Like the unpaid or
Oh my God.
horrifically paid labor of prisoners.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of awful shit about that, which we will get into in future
is
episodes.
fucked.
It's so fucked. So it's like we have slavery today. It's just in a different sphere of society that capitalism has found a way to monetize. You know, and I mean, it continued to monetize the whole time. So it's so fucked.
Wow.
But okay, so now by the mid-1800s, coal was being extracted in America at an increasing rate. Because rapid deforestation had drastically increased the price of wood, coal became the fuel that urban Americans relied on. While the more common bituminous, I think that's how you say it, bituminous coal produced a lot of smoke, anthracite coal burned much more cleanly, making it the preferred fuel for households and cities. This resource became vital to the development of American capitalism, fueling other industries like the construction of railroads and the production of steel. The main source of anthracite coal was northeastern Pennsylvania. Around mid-century, Pennsylvania law enforcement was very basic, consisting only of sheriffs assigned to separate counties. Because the coal and iron operators wanted more protection for their property, they made their case to politicians who passed State Act 228. This 1865 act empowered the mines and railroads to organize their own corporate police forces.
Oh, jeez. Just when I thought it couldn't get worse.
I know, exactly. The whole time. Oh, it gets worse. Sorry. I'm sorry, Hillary.
Yeah, could have warned me.
I think
I'm just kidding.
I think I have been a little bit, but I'm going to try to do
a little bit,
some uplifting things. So immediately, the coal and iron police were born. Established by the state but employed and paid by the coal companies, these police forces were entirely in the pockets of their corporate employers. Only a year after the 1865 Act was passed, a supplemental act extended the privilege of creating private police forces to, quote, all corporations, firms, or individuals owning, leasing, or being in the possession of any colliery, furnace, or rolling mill within this Commonwealth. So anyone that basically has like a factory or a mill, you can employ your own police force to help guard it and the surrounding area and police everyone. So by purchasing commissions from the governor's office for $1 apiece, the mine owners could now assign officer status to anyone they chose.
So explain the difference between that and like a business owner today, like a nightclub hiring a security guard, because I think that's important to differentiate.
I think that's something that I was like, I need to dive more deeply into, because we obviously, the companies can have security guards. They can employ their own guards still, but they don't have forces to the extent I think that this was. But also there's just private companies that are for hire militaries. And
I think that the intent behind this, having this security, is a little different. So
behind having,
correct me if I'm wrong.
You mean behind having it today in these places?
Yes.
I mean, maybe that's probably more about like, don't steal our stuff. Yeah, I mean, this was very explicitly about like preventing uprisings because they're shitting on these people so hard.
Right. Yeah, I think that that's very important to highlight and to talk about. Yeah. Because I think that somebody could hear that and it can very easily just be glossed over like, oh, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
No, actually it is.
Yeah.
And we need to talk about it.
But I don't really know the extent of that right now. I don't know the extent to which companies can, big corporations can do that. I don't know the laws against it, but that's something that would be really, really fascinating to dive into more.
Yeah.
These officers were mostly free of oversight, and they were often made up of hoodlums and common gunmen. Their explicit purpose was to protect property, but in reality, they operated as strikebreakers and as the eyes and ears of the corporation. This private police force would intimidate mine workers, forcibly evicting striking workers and their families from their homes. They would patrol the community, provoking the kind of conflicts that would serve as justification for harsh policing. These officers were frequently accused of assault, rape, kidnapping, and murder. Mine workers came to view the coal and iron police in a negative light, calling them Cossacks and yellow dogs. And I kind of forget what the yellow dogs thing was. I think it's like yellow dog is like a cowardly thing. And I think they're saying like you're cowardly to be breaking these unionized forces. And
yeah, that's an interesting little nickname there.
Yeah, I looked into a bit, but I forgot some of what I read.
Well, it's okay. It sounds like you did a shit ton of research.
I did a lot.
Yeah.
In the book Private Police, speaking of which, with special reference to Pennsylvania, author Shalhoub states that there was, quote, no consideration nor was there any attempt on the part of any responsible authority to determine the character or fitness of the persons for whom commissions were sought. There was no investigation, no regulation, no supervision, no responsibility undertaken by the state.
And I mean, that's kind of not, I mean, I probably shouldn't say this because I don't know how accurate this is, but I kind of feel like that's, kind of the
problem of what's happening today.
Yeah. I mean, like, so like I hesitate because I just don't know, and I don't want to just spout the mouth if I'm wrong, but I have just randomly heard from like other podcasts and, news sources and whatever that, there's just not a whole lot that goes into police training and requirements for our police force. That's
and oversight scary, of our police forces and like ability to fire people because they have police unions that make it so basically they can't get fired even though they've had, their repeat offenders.
Right. Okay, so I mean, it's not too far off the mark to say like this is 100%, part of the problem.
It would be wrong to say there's no regulation, no supervision, no responsibility.
Yeah.
But you're totally right that this is partially what's happening right now. So, and part of the reason why people are out in the streets and furious because they've been able to get away with horrific abuse for so long. But hopefully that's going to change soon because of pressure that's being put on people right now.
I mean, things have definitely changed. Yeah. Already, like, and they're in the process of changing today.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
But we will see.
It's unfolding right now. The racial narrative in this country right now is so crazy.
It's a very timely topic.
Yeah, I keep thinking that people just couldn't handle Obama and just fucking lost their shit afterwards, and the backlash of all of that is Trump and all of this other insanity.
No, there's a humongous, part of the American population that is not okay with progressive ideas and different races. Yeah. Shitty stuff like that.
It's so fucking insane. Mm-hmm. So many of us, I think, thought that we were so much further ahead in our racial relations in this country.
Oh, totally.
Like, totally. I don't see race. I don't deal with racism. I don't see it ever. Like, people literally are still saying that, but it's insane.
Oh, totally. You definitely still hear that today. I think just to like throw this little like personal nugget out there, like, I even remember thinking myself, like, well, I mean, I'm not racist. Like, no one's racist. And that is just so fucking inaccurate.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time that I actually witnessed racism, and it floored me. It just completely, my jaw was to the fucking goddamn floor. I was like, are you serious?
You have to tell me what happened. You have to say.
Just super quick. I was living in Virginia at the time. This was about 10 years ago. I was in a tutoring class, and the tutor was talking about her grandmother's cat, who her grandmother called N baby. And she kept saying, there's the one black girl in that school was sitting right next to me. And we were just trying to learn some math, and this girl is going on and on and on about N baby, N baby, N baby. She said it like 15 times before I said, listen, you cannot say that word any longer.
Yeah, good.
I told her, I was like, just stop it. Like, that is really inappropriate, and it's insensitive.
Never again in your life.
Thankfully, I hope, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
She was kind of a.
I hope.
Anyways, it just floored me. I was like, is this really happening right now? It was. Yeah. I don't know. It really ripped my eyes open because I had just moved to Virginia. So I came from like, super liberal California where like, I really hadn't experienced racism before. And then I moved to Virginia, and within a month, I experienced this girl just dropping that word.
Oh my God.
Like, it's no problem. I'm like, excuse you. You may not, Yeah, I will definitely say that it was a much more, rural part of Virginia. There are definitely, some much more like chill, progressive places in Virginia. I don't want to just like shit on a whole state like that. However, that was a very alarming experience for me, for sure.
Yeah, there's so much of it alive and well.
Yeah, it's a poison.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to continue here.
Please do.
I want to give you an idea of the horrible conditions the miners suffered through. Methane leaks often caught fire, burning or suffocating the miners to death, and many contracted black lung from breathing in coal dust in the poorly ventilated mine shafts. Some died from nitrogen dioxide and other pollutants released during mining. Sometimes the mine shafts flooded, drowning workers. In the 20 years after 1870, roughly 32,000 coal miners died on the job. So 20 years, 32,000 people die. But to put that into some present-day perspective, it's estimated that even right now, 1 million people die a year from coal pollution, even today.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And we're still like, let's keep those coal jobs and keep digging it out.
Let's keep those coal jobs, especially keep those coal jobs from those immigrants.
Yeah.
We want to work our coal jobs. You fucking laws.
Just make some other jobs. God, there's so many ways to make jobs, but we're just not doing it.
No, we're not at all. Another topic.
So many.
Yep.
So while miners were forced to risk their lives for little pay, the public was not on their side. The press portrayed strikers as wild beasts who needed to be shot down. One newspaper made the declaration, "Let the leaders of these riots be hunted down and arrested. If they will learn tolerance only by being shot down, it is better to shoot them down than to let them shoot others." Literally how these people were seen for wanting a wage that would sustain their lives, you know.
Yeah, God forbid they ask.
Yeah,
give me a
fucking assholes. Go back to your hole.
Go back to your hole.
All right. So when the coal and iron police and a band of armed vigilantes began targeting and killing labor organizers, this violence had public support. By waylaying, ambushing, and killing strikers and organizers, the mine owners succeeded in obliterating the existing unions. Sorry, I can't talk.
You can indeed. You're good.
By the end of the century, the mine operators had established an oligopoly within their industry. So an oligopoly is basically a small group of sellers that totally dominate an industry, and so they can control the prices, and they can completely obliterate all the competition. They can just get rid of that.
Oh my God.
So, and that's basically what we have in the U.S. right now. So, like,
yeah. Okay, so step back 5 seconds. So you said that they obliterated the unions. So they had some unions. They had some form of protection, perhaps.
So they kept trying to form unions, and the Pinkerton Detective Agency had a lot to do with trying to destroy these unions. There were just constant campaigns to kill the people that were leading the unions, evict people from their homes. Even in some cases, I think they just fired everyone and said you could never work here again. But that was after killing people.
Fresh.
Yeah, but like abusing other people.
God.
So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Jesus. So corrupt.
Yeah, but they did have some unions, which is wonderful, and they kept forming them, and they even, in the face
That's
of
just
this.
really surprising to even hear that they had that.
Yeah.
I just kind of wonder, like, what happened with, like, the force behind starting those unions? Like, how come that momentum didn't carry forth, right? Like, it sounds like they kind of failed, and I want to know more about, like, what happened behind the crippling of those unions.
Yeah, there are a lot of great unions today. I have friends that are working for some unions. I think that they're somewhat waning in power, though, in some places, but we should definitely do some episodes about that.
I think unions are fantastic.
Yeah.
They provide a lot of protective measures, and I think that if, more companies and more jobs had involvement with unions, that we'd be better off. But again, another episode.
Yeah, we're gonna dig in. So the Lay and Wilkes Barre Coal Company cut pay for their workers and laid many people off in 1897. They also raised the housing costs for miners and their families who were forced to live on company towns, which still happens today. The wonderful company that sells almonds and cuties and Fiji water, and these people that they own the water rights in a lot of California, they're just total, yeah.
Okay, cue the band.
Yeah. This happens today, but they have these little towns of basically people that are working, harvesting different crops, and they have to live in these company towns. They have to buy only their water. They have to only buy their food. They have to, they're just subjected to all of their shit. It's crazy.
Oh my God.
I would hate to live there.
With insane hours
Yeah.
and oftentimes limited facilities, like,
and they probably know that they're illegal, and so they
zero protection.
They can take advantage of them.
So they can just completely trample on them.
Yeah. Awful shit. Protesting these developments, a mass of 3,000 workers succeeded in shutting down the mines in Pennsylvania. So this is after they raised the housing costs and were evicting people from their homes. The coal operators declared a state of civil disorder and called upon the Luzerne County Sheriff James F. Martin to help crush the strike. Believing that the coal and iron police were too few in number to control the workers, Martin quickly deputized a posse of about 100 English and Irish citizens. These officers stood ready to control the Eastern European immigrant workers. Only a few days later, around 9,000 miners were on strike. Sheriff Martin responded by calling out 2,500 Pennsylvania National Guard troops. So, like, National Guard, they're just sending in, like, everyone. Like,
yeah. Are you sure you're reading from your research, or are you reading, like, an article
right now? Yeah, I know. Seriously.
Like, shit.
Isn't it fucked? Oh, my God. That's one of the reasons why I needed to do this one, because, like, I don't know. I think it shines so much light on so much about policing, but then also about different forms of policing.
No wonder we have these practices. We've been doing this for centuries. And, like, I guess, like, I mean, I don't know. I'm speaking for myself here, but I guess I didn't realize that we had been doing this for centuries. Yeah, and I'm sure there are plenty others that had, you know.
Not that long ago, I was, like, oblivious to much of this, you know, so much of this.
Yeah. Well, you're shining light on it right now, girl.
Yeah. Cheers. I don't think we ever cheers before.
Oh, cheers. I love cheers.
I feel like I need to get, like, a glass here.
This is seriously a delicious drink. It's
so good.
It's quickly becoming one of my favorites.
You don't have the lavender sprig, unfortunately, but it does add, like, a nice little aroma as you're sipping it. It's really...
I can imagine. With COVID, I didn't want to run out and get lavender. I did, however, put a nice little lemon rind little spiral
very
in here.
Nice. I love that.
So I've got a little
lemon
decoration.
Twist.
Yeah. A little lemon twist, if you will. Yes.
I forget what it's
called. But no, not, it's not as lovely and, as aromatic as lavender would have been.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I thought about doing that as well, but I'm glad you did it. Yeah. That's great.
I did it for you.
Thank you, Hill.
Oh, you're welcome, my love. Cheers, babe.
I need something to clink on. All right.
I know, seriously. Let's do like a fake clink. There we go.
We did it.
We did. I guess our listeners should also, like, be aware that, like, we're definitely not in the same room. Like,
yeah, for sure.
That's why we're, like, doing weird things like clinking our own glasses. We can't clink our glasses,
that's what...
across a screen.
I can shake my ice at
my
people,
ice
though.
is melted. I don't have any more ice. I'm just, like, shaking the last little bit of cocktail in my glass.
Aw. I have a second one in the fridge, but I don't want to run down there.
I should have made it back up too. Little refill action.
And then, like, a little cooler with some ice.
Oh, totally.
For the next one, I'm going to do that shit. All right. So, on September 10th, between 300 and 400 workers marched to Latimer Coal Mine in support of the new United Mine Workers Union.
May I ask what year this is?
So this is...
Just to get a refresh.
This is like 1897, I believe, is right at the turn of the century. So yeah, and this is after the last union had been crushed, but they formed this new one.
Okay, good refresh. Thank you.
Uh-huh. So a man carried an American flag at the head of the crowd as the unarmed strikers marched peacefully behind. Multiple sources state that the officers had spent the morning joking about how many strikers they would kill. Yeah. One deputy told his fellow officers, "I bet I drop 6 of them when I get down there." With Sheriff Martin in the lead, 150 armed deputies met up with the marchers. The sheriff ordered the workers to disperse, but they refused. In a childish attempt to seize control of the situation, Martin tried to grab the flag from the man at the front of the crowd, leading to a scuffle. The sheriff escalated the situation once again by drawing his pistol and firing into the crowd, but his pistol failed.
Oh.
Fucking asshole. But then his people backed him up.
Yeah.
Following his lead, the officers shot 100 rounds into the crowd, killing at least 19 miners and injuring many more. Some were even shot in the back as they ran. This was called the Latimer Massacre.
Damn.
So, from the standpoint of the mine operators, the main cost of production was what they paid in wages, and they were extremely resistant to increasing this expenditure. Nevertheless, in response to the strikes and pressure from the McKinley administration, the mine operators agreed to a 10% increase in pay. Resenting this concession, the mine owners and operators braced themselves for future conflicts. They were led by George Bayer, the president of the Reading Railroad, which employed thousands of miners. Speaking of the strikers and the officers at his disposal, Bayer wrote that the, quote, rights and interests of the laboring man will be protected and cared for, not by the labor agitators, but by the Christian men to whom God in his infinite wisdom has given the control of the property interests of this country.
Oh my God, wait a second. So.
Go ahead.
So let's see. This extremely crooked man is now completely in the right because he's a godly man. Yeah, is that what we're getting at here?
I think there's probably a very simple equivalency there back in the day. I mean, yeah, like to say that like rich people they're endowed by God. That's what makes them rich. So
Right.
You can't question that.
Right. Not by their logic, no.
But under the pretext of guarding workers from strikers, Bayer enlisted 5,000 coal and iron police to guard the mines. When the mine operators continuously refused to hear workers' grievances, workers organized again. The president of the United Mine Workers of America was John Mitchell, who had spent his childhood as an orphan working in the mines. What a fucking childhood.
Yeah, that's so shitty.
You having no one and being like, I'm going to work today.
I remember, like, okay, my childhood was, like, making mud pies in my backyard and camping and, like, putting daisies in my hair and all that silly-ass shit. And this guy is like, I was a coal miner as a child. A child!
Yeah.
What?
The amount of knowledge that this guy and, like, worldly wisdom he must have had at, like, 10 years old.
That's true. That's actually very true. But, I mean, that's doesn't make up for the fact that he was horribly mistreated in his youth. I mean, that it's not worth having that knowledge.
No child should have that knowledge.
No.
Not at all. But I love this character. By now, union membership had grown to 80% of the workers in this region. 80% of people are in the union. After trying repeatedly to negotiate with the mine operators, Mitchell led 147,000 workers to walk out of the mines. That's so many fucking people.
It's a big movement.
It's so good.
Yeah, I'm about it.
This is going from being an orphan who's working in the mines to leading 147,000
He's a
people.
fucking hero. Yeah, he's a badass.
For good. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So this is the start of the Great Strike of 1902.
Okay, so now we're in 1902. I like having dates. I like knowing like the progression here. I'm a timeline girl, you know.
Sometimes I will forget where I'm at in the timeline because my brain is so bad at sorting these things out. That's why I was not a history person.
Same.
I liked philosophy.
Yep.
Abstraction and theories and stuff much better. But anyway, so the workers demanded an 8-hour workday and 20% wage increase and the recognition of their union.
Boom. Yes.
Boom. Yeah, fuck yeah. So legit, right?
Yes.
So not like they're not asking for ridiculous shit, you know?
No, it's reasonable. I love that. Like that's awesome.
It's for their ability to stay alive and to be okay, you know? Like
Yeah.
So Mitchell tried to pressure the operators to meet the workers' demands. He announced that he would flood the mine shafts by ordering the pumpmen and engineers to leave if their demands weren't met. This is some good
destruction.
Yeah. You know, what about that capital you got over there? What do you think about that?
Yeah.
What if I just totally destroy it?
What if I just fuck that shit up? What if I make it disappear?
It's a good tactic there.
Bye.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. I approve. 100%
If you're at the point where you have to do that, you know, if they were...
Oh, they were absolutely at that point.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like,
yeah,
seriously.
They're dying in droves. Yeah. They're making nothing. They're getting evicted from their homes.
Yeah.
They're getting brutalized by these, like, corporate police. Like,
it's nuts, man.
So when Baer again refused to negotiate, Mitchell followed through, flooding and damaging company property in ways that would take months to repair. With the conflict,
water damage sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
Water damage sucks.
Try to pump that shit out of there, out of a mine shaft. Oh my god, I don't even know how that would go down, but yeah, it took a long time. So
that would take a lot of time, a lot of resources. It would cost them so much money.
But that's why it's such a smart move to hit them.
Yeah, it's super smart.
If you're not killing anyone.
It's a great tactic. No.
While these corporate police are shooting people that are poor and just asking for like a living wage.
No, they just hit them in their wallets.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's great.
It's fantastic. It's very smart.
Yeah.
Way to go, guys.
Mm-hmm. Good job, Mitchell. So with the conflicts escalating, a fence around a colliery was set on fire. Later that same day, the coal and iron police shot a 13-year-old boy who was walking near the fence, and he was rushed to the hospital. So he didn't die. Then, on July 2nd, the coal and iron police shot and killed a man for attempting to climb the colliery fence. Soon after, 300 strikers started throwing rocks at a train, preventing it from reaching the mines. In response, 10,000 troops, the entire National Guard, was called into Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Oh, they're throwing some rocks at these trains. What are we going to do?
Golly.
Mobilize everyone. Yeah.
It's so wild learning all of this. Like,
yeah. It puts everything today.
History really does repeat itself. It's just so wild. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew, yeah. I didn't know, this story. I didn't know these facts.
Yeah.
This is very...
Yeah, I didn't know a lot of this stuff too. You know, it's kind of shocking the extent of the horrific stuff that was going on for just people that were just trying to make a living wage, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So because Americans had come to rely on anthracite coal, this strike was a threat to the winter fuel supply. The mine operators held stockpiles of coal, but these would only last a few months. President Theodore Roosevelt, who viewed himself as the steward of the people, was very disturbed by the situation. He stated that, quote, "A coal famine in winter is an ugly thing, and I fear we shall see terrible suffering and grave disaster."
Smart guy.
Smart guy, yes. I like his role here for sure. At this time, a president had never intervened to resolve a conflict between business and labor. There was no existing precedent for this kind of move. Still, Roosevelt was determined. He investigated the situation and convened a conference of representatives from government, labor, and industry. In spite of this, the operators refused to negotiate with their workers. At the conference, Baer spoke for the mine owners and operators, stating that, quote, "The government is a contemptible failure if it can only protect lives and property by compromising with the violators of law and the instigators of violence and crime. I now ask you," speaking to Roosevelt, "to perform the duties vested in you as President of the United States, to at once squelch the anarchistic condition of affairs existing in the anthracite coal regions by the strong arm of the military at your command." Just kill him.
Yeah, right? Well, so what was his response?
He had a pretty great response. So in attempt...
Of course he did. I'm just going to fill in to our listeners. I absolutely 100% appreciate Theodore Roosevelt. I'm not a history buff by any means, but I am a Teddy fan.
Yeah, totally. He had some fantastic shit going on. I love a lot about him.
I really do too. Yeah. He founded our national parks, y'all. That's badass.
That is, oh my God, like the most important thing in America that we have today.
It's so vital to my life. Like,
totally.
I love it very much.
Thanks.
Mad respect to Teddy Bear.
Fuck yeah.
Did you know that the teddy bear is named after him? Did you know that?
I did know that, and I love
that
too.
Got a lot of fun facts about Theodore Roosevelt, but that's another episode.
You should totally do a Teddy Roosevelt episode.
I might have to.
So much shit. So much good shit.
Yeah. He's a pretty cool guy. Cool guy.
This is kind of like a shout out to Hillary here because I know she's a Roosevelt fan, so Teddy fan.
Yeah, my ears perked when you got to this part of the story. I'm like, oh, I know that guy.
I hope he doesn't do something awful.
Like, so seriously, my butthole puckered a little bit. I was like, uh-oh.
That's what I was expecting.
What is she gonna say? Uh-oh. No, I'm just kidding.
The butthole pucker. I love it. It's totally, that's the right response, yeah.
I mean, it happened.
No. It literally in my butthole happened. All right, by now, our the people that are going to tune out because of our humor,
our butt jokes,
just see you later. I hope
we
I don't hang out with
appreciate you, motherfuckers. You better come back later. And if you're still listening, you're our kind of people, and we super appreciate you.
Yeah, we love you, and don't go fuck yourself like those people that don't like what we're doing.
Word. You can stay. Have another cocktail with us.
Yeah, exactly.
Be groovy. We like you.
So, in an attempt to defuse the strike, which had already been going on for months, Roosevelt sent his Secretary of War to talk with the owner of the Reading Railroad. His name was J.P. Morgan. Yeah. Around today, we know the name well.
Yeah, we do.
This is so long ago. So in addition to people don't think
some
that
of these people just this is gonna be really harsh, but some of these people just need to fucking die already. Like, really?
He's long and dead, but his family's gonna be rich for fucking ever because that's how this works. If you're rich enough, you just create a legacy and an empire.
Yes.
A little monarchy or whatever. So, in addition to owning the railroad and employing the miners, this wealthy capitalist had chosen to install the oppressive George Bayer, who we were talking about before, as the mine operator. So Morgan and Roosevelt's Secretary of War composed a contract calling upon the president to form a committee that could resolve the dispute. They proposed a committee of 5, but this lacked anyone who would represent the laborers. To remedy, but
I was so hopeful. I was like,
it's
good.
good.
All right.
He's working with them. Okay. He's not irredeemable here. So to remedy this imbalance, Mitchell and the union insisted that a labor representative and a Catholic bishop be added to the committee.
Oh, there we go. I just spoke too soon.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Exactly.
Applause.
So totally, they accepted that. I mean, I think they probably should have had equal representation for the labor and for the companies, but that is not how it worked.
No, but that's like kind of a big step forward in and of itself. Like that, that's progress. So, and I applaud that.
And they got what they want, what they asked for. So that's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
So when the Anthracite Coal Strike Commission was finally established on October 23rd, 1903, Mitchell called off the strike.
1903. God, that just wasn't that long ago.
It's, yeah.
Shit, girl.
It had lasted for a total of 163 days. That's like half a year.
Yeah.
The commission held hearings from November till March, and 558 witnesses were heard. In his closing remarks to the committee, Bayer said of the workers, quote, "These men don't suffer. Why, hell, half of them don't even speak English."
Oh, Jesus.
You stupid fuck.
God damn.
Can you imagine having that mentality? I can't.
No, it just kind of, it's just a little too shocking. I'm just like,
doesn't it just break your heart a little, just like that someone can be like that?
It breaks my fucking heart. It's unfortunately it doesn't surprise me, but it just really takes it all out of me, right?
Yeah.
Like I just like don't even know what to fucking say. Like, how fucking dare you? How on earth do you even operate like that? Like,
how do you see other humans like that?
Right. Right.
Any other humans, like if you can't speak English, you can't suffer. That's the most fucking nonsensical, stupid shit. Like people say, like all kinds of animals don't have the same.
I guess that's just how corruptive power really is. Like you just don't give a fuck.
Don't care about the people underneath you.
No.
Because you get to this point and you're like, oh, they're going to try to get my wealth.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I don't think it's even that. It's just complete disregard. I think it's just, I have this wealth and I know nothing's going to fucking touch it.
Yeah.
And nothing else matters, so whatever.
And then also you're fearful constantly that, like, maybe you won't always have that and you don't have it. It's not justified or something, you know? So you're, like, paranoid, you know? And so you like, hire police forces and shit.
I mean, it's just them using force to ensure that there isn't an uprising, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just keeping that power.
Yep.
That's all that is.
Yeah.
And it's fucking disgusting.
Keep the wealth in these hands and make sure that these other people don't have any say. So on March 22nd, the verdict was announced. Mine workers had won a 9-hour workday and a 10% increase in their wages, which was basically, so the commission split the difference and gave them half of what they asked for. The companies had to basically just, like, suck it up and take that that loss. So at least there's a compromise there.
Yeah, I'm stoked for that, because that's, like, kind of the foundation, like the start of fighting for those kinds of rights.
Yeah, and it's,
know, and that it's not, unfortunately, like, it's not what I was hoping that the story would go, right? But I do think that was a good start, and it was a victory for them for sure.
Yeah. And that it was a victory, and that they could actually have a conversation and like, it wasn't just a brutal, like, violent thing that resulted in a certain way. It was an actual agreement that both parties agreed to. So there was some peace on the other end of it. You know, like,
what do you think was the cause of that shift from just the chaos to the ability to have that sort
I think
of agreement?
fucking Roosevelt in this situation.
Because I was going to say, like how, I was just going to ask, like, how much can you really put on, you know, Roosevelt, or was it the Union, or, you know,
I mean,
like, what?
it was a combined, like, the Union being persistent and being well organized, you know, knowing what they want, asking for reasonable demands. You know, they weren't asking for the moon and back. You know, they weren't.
That's so hugely important.
Yeah,
That's
they were
so
asking for.
important. You have to be reasonable, or you're just gonna get shot down.
Yeah, if you don't ask for reasonable demands, which I've dealt with as an activist, it's hard to, like, come to terms with that. But, like, these, at least they were asking for something that was within the realm of possibility, and they got a lot of what they wanted. So they agreed to a discussion that was going to come up with a solution, and that they agreed that they were going to accept the solution of that. You know, it's like, that's awesome. It's like a fucking having an election instead of having a fucking, you know, whatever, a coup or something. You know, like,
yeah. No, that's accurate.
People went into it agreeing that this is what's going to happen. You know, so
that's super positive.
Thanks, Teddy. You did a good one there.
Thanks, Teddy.
Even though you kind of encroached on, like, he was breaking with precedent. There was no precedent for a president to be able to take that kind of power to intervene there. He did that and kind of spread the reach of presidential power a little bit, but in a good way, because he's a good guy. So I guess if someone else was a fucking horrible tyrant and they did that, they could weigh in horribly. Like, if you were fucking Trump and you weigh in on this kind of dispute, you know. So I guess it's not completely easy.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to.
But he knew what he needed to do, you know.
Yeah.
And he wanted to solve a problem.
That's kind of who Teddy Roosevelt was too. Like, he was going to do, like, he very much so, like, had high morals. And he was going to do whatever he thought he needed to do to hold those high morals.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that, you know, and that's kind of one of the things that I respected about him, or that I respect about him, you know?
Yeah, I mean, what did he call himself? The steward of the people? Yeah, which is just, I mean, I really think he was trying to embody that in what he was doing here. You know,
he was going to forcefully do something to better people's lives, not better his one single life. Just
exactly.
Himself, you know?
He was trying to.
So hell, I'm for that.
He's looking out for the greater good. He's trying to. He knows that people need their fuel because they're so dependent on it at this point.
Right.
He knows that, like, the workers need to be paid better. He knows,
and he helped fight for that.
He helped fight for that. Yeah, he helped to give them a place where they could legitimately get what they wanted. I don't know if they could have done that with the coal and iron police there otherwise.
No.
You know, with these fucking...
I don't think so. If I were to just throw that out there, no, I don't think so.
Just having these corporate police forces there to crush you whenever you do anything. Yeah. And you're walking out with stones as your weapon, and they have guns, and you're calling out the fucking National Guard and everything. You couldn't, you know. I think in this instance, it was so good that there was this like leadership from the top that was saying, let's have a discussion. Yeah. I don't trust that the present day leadership.
And let's move boulders.
Yeah. Exactly.
No, present day leaders. Our present day leader would not do that. Yeah. No, he's too busy eating Big Macs in his fucking bed right
and worrying about how the water from his shower doesn't allow him to wash his hair enough, so he needs to...
What hair?
Oh, what hair, exactly.
What fucking hair?
Whatever he's stapled to his fucking forehead, you know? Fucking disgusting thing on there.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Anyway, so to close, the anthracite coal strike of 1902 had a huge impact on the shape of policing in Pennsylvania. Government-backed corporate strike-breaking forces were suddenly subjected to greater scrutiny. When Samuel Pennypacker became the governor soon after, he was asked to sign commissions to hire more coal and iron policemen. This was his response. "Take them away. I will never put the police powers of the state in the hands of the nominees of one of the parties to a controversy. We must have an independent constabulary." So that's the end. He basically said, let's not fucking do that anymore.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That's a happy
ending.
It's okay. You know, I definitely wasn't expecting a happy ending.
I tried to give you something
that's
good.
A happy ending. Yeah, you scooped up my heart off the ground. Right,
yeah, you know.
You stitched it together a little bit.
One of your heroes.
A lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I knew that was going to be rough.
Yeah.
My next episode is actually from the same region, and it's kind of like a modern day outgrowth of this, but to give you a tiny preview, but that's all.
A little bit of a preview. Yeah. So what you're trying to say is get your tissues.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna be crying.
Exactly, yeah. Was that...
No, that was hugely informative. That was really cool. Definitely. So what I love that we're... why we're switching back and forth like this is that is a topic that I never would have researched, and so I just learned a shit ton.
Yeah,
really cool.
Yeah, totally. And
I'm into it.
And we're gonna do such different topics and such different things and some
uplifting. When you hear my next topic, you're gonna be like, so totally different.
But it's
fabulous. It's really
great.
That's
what I love about doing a podcast with you is that like we're gonna come to the table with such radically different things and radically different perspectives sometimes, but also like the understanding and the compassion and the like. We're not like gonna fight each other because we disagree. We're not gonna fucking have shit, you know. Like,
yeah. And if we disagree, we're gonna have an adult conversation about it.
It's gonna be productive.
We can be reasonable like that.
Exactly.
Because we're mature and smart, and we can manage something like that. But no, I do really love that. Like, as you go, mine's gone, girl. No, but I do love that, like, our first episode was, you know, the toilet paper run, and then we, boom, go to corporate police forces, like, and then, I can't say the next topic, but it's so great. Like, this is fun. This is great.
It's going to be a wild ride.
I really hope that our audience is enjoying it as much as I am.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think, like, it's good to give people some breaks from the hard shit and give them some hard shit, too, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I mean, like, it's good to broach these tougher topics, for sure.
Yeah. And, like, I did a much more, like, dry and, like, academic approach episode where I'm just, like, writing it all out and reading it super straight up, and Hillary's much more conversational, and I love that. You know, like, it's much more engaging for me.
Yeah, no.
But this is my style.
I think it's really cool that, like, we both have our different styles. Like, I think that, you know, different listeners are gonna appreciate the different episodes, right? Like, you know,
totally.
It's a whole new podcast almost every episode, right? Like, it's just...
But you can trust that we're gonna do our due diligence about the topics. You know, we may not be experts, but we fucking care.
Deeply, yeah. Otherwise, we wouldn't have started this podcast. This podcast is a lot of work. We
Yeah,
would not have
yeah.
started the podcast if we didn't care. So,
It's also a lot of fun.
oh, it is so much fun. It's so much fun, especially with you, Maya. If anyone has any questions about our episodes or anything that they want to ask us about these topics, feel free to email us at cocktailsandcapitalism@gmail.com. It'd be really interesting to hear some of our listeners weigh in or throw in their 2 cents or
Yeah, absolutely.
anything like that. That'd be really cool.
Or you could tweet at Cocktails and Capitalism or Cocked Capitalism.
It's cocked capitalism. Indeed.
COCKT. All right, babe. Well, shall we sign off?
Yeah, let's sign off.
Until next time.
Next time. And remember, there's no wealth but life.
Truly.
Mwah. Love you, girl.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.